Emma Carter had never imagined that her life would narrow down to one final choice at 27. She had already lived through enough disappointment to last a lifetime. She had loved once and lost badly. She had trusted promises that dissolved like smoke. But nothing frightened her more than watching her 6-year-old son, Noah, slowly understand what financial struggle meant. The apartment was small, the paint peeling at the corners. The refrigerator hummed louder than usual because there was almost nothing inside it. Emma stood in front of it that evening, staring at half a carton of milk and 2 apples. Noah sat cross-legged on the floor, drawing with colored pencils. "Mommy, can we have pancakes tomorrow?" he asked cheerfully. Emma forced a smile. "Maybe this weekend." "Sweetheart," she closed the refrigerator quietly, her heart heavy. 2 weeks earlier, she had been working double shifts at Harbor Brew Cafe. She was one of their best waitresses. Customers liked her calm energy and kind smile. She remembered names and coffee preferences. She worked hard, but the cafe owner sold the business suddenly, and the new management cut half the staff without warning. Emma was one of them. She had applied everywhere: grocery stores, clothing shops, cleaning services. But competition was high and employers preferred candidates without children. Childcare alone cost more than she could manage without stable income. That night, she sat at the kitchen table. Eviction notice spread out before her. 3 weeks. 3 weeks to find a miracle. Her phone buzzed with a message from Mrs. Dalton, an older customer from the cafe. "I heard about your situation. My niece works for a private estate. They need someone discreet and reliable. High salary. Live-in position possible. Call this number." Emma stared at the message. Private estate, high salary, live-in. Her chest tightened. She did not like unknown situations. She did not like power imbalances. But she liked the idea of Noah having security. The next morning, she dialed the number. By noon, she had an interview scheduled at Whitmore Estate. The estate gates were taller than her apartment building. Emma adjusted her simple navy dress before stepping out of the taxi. The property stretched wide, surrounded by manicured gardens and silent fountains. Everything looked polished and distant. A woman in her 40s greeted her at the door. "You must be Emma. I am Grace Holloway." Estate manager Grace had sharp but kind eyes. "Follow me." Inside, the floors gleamed like mirrors. Chandeliers hung above like frozen stars. Emma felt underdressed but refused to show insecurity. They entered a spacious office with floor-to-ceiling windows. Overlooking the gardens, Daniel Whitmore sat behind a modern desk. He was in his early 30s. Broad shoulders, composed posture despite the wheelchair beneath him. His dark hair was perfectly styled, but there was something tired in his expression. His gray eyes carried intelligence and caution. "Miss Carter," he said calmly. "Mr. Whitmore." Grace stepped aside. "You understand this position involves personal assistance?" Daniel continued. "Scheduling, mobility support, occasional personal care. Privacy is essential." Emma nodded. "Why should I trust you inside my home?" he asked directly. "Because I have something to protect," she answered. "And that is?" My son Daniel observed her closely. "People lie when they need money. I do need money," she said honestly. "But I do not lie." The room fell silent. Daniel finally leaned back slightly. "You begin tomorrow. Temporary contract. We will evaluate from there." Emma swallowed relief. "Thank you." That night she held Noah tighter than usual. "Will you still tuck me in if you live somewhere else?" Noah asked quietly. "Every night," she promised. The next morning, Emma moved into the staff wing of Whitmore Estate. Her room was larger than her entire apartment. Soft bedding. Private bathroom. Clean air. She unpacked slowly, reminding herself not to be overwhelmed. Her first official task was assisting Daniel with his morning routine. Grace explained quietly, "Values independence. Offer help, but do not assume weakness." Emma knocked gently before entering his bedroom suite. "Good morning, Mr. Whitmore." Daniel was already awake. Reviewing emails on a tablet, morning she helped prepare the accessible shower setup. Daniel transferred carefully from wheelchair to support bench with practiced precision. Emma remained professional, Steady. You are not nervous, he observed. I have worked in crowded kitchens during rush hour, she replied lightly. This is quieter. A faint hint of amusement crossed his face. Afterward, she assisted with dressing. His movements were controlled but strained. She noticed tension in his shoulders. Do you experience pain often? She asked carefully. Only when I remember what I lost. She did not respond. Some wounds were not physical. By afternoon, she helped organize his business files. Daniel was a tech entrepreneur whose software security company had expanded rapidly before his accident 2 years ago. Since then, he operated mostly from home. A black and white photograph sat on his shelf. Daniel standing confidently beside a glamorous blonde woman. Emma glanced at it briefly. Victoria Lane, Daniel said without looking up. Former fiancée Emma nodded silently. She prefers power to people. Emma understood that type. Later that evening, her phone rang. Noah's face appeared on the screen. Mommy, look. I made a rocket ship. She smiled warmly. That is amazing. Daniel happened to roll past the open doorway and paused. Is that your son? He asked. Yes. Noah waved. Hi, Mr. Wheelchair. Emma froze in embarrassment. Noah. Daniel surprised her by smiling. Hello, astronaut. After the call ended, Daniel remained still. He seems fearless. He is, Emma said softly. He believes the world is good. Daniel looked out the window. Hold on to that. The following days. Established rhythm, Emma managed his schedule. Assisted with therapy exercises he had previously neglected, and ensured medications were consistent. Daniel was sharp with business associates, but distant personally. One afternoon, Victoria arrived. She moved through the mansion like she owned it. Elegant white dress, controlled smile. Daniel. She greeted coolly. Victoria, her gaze slid toward Emma. You must be the new hire. Yes. Victoria studied her from head to toe. Temporary positions rarely last here. Emma met her eyes calmly. I am here too. Work. Victoria smiled thinly. We shall see. After she left the room, Daniel exhaled slowly. You do not need to engage her. I was not planning to. Emma replied. He watched her thoughtfully. You do not seem intimidated. I have faced eviction notices. Designer shoes do not scare me. For the first time, Daniel laughed fully. That evening, Emma found him alone in the garden. The sunset painted orange light across. Trimmed hedges. Why do you not use the therapy room anymore? She asked gently. Because hope is expensive. He replied. She sat beside him on a bench. So is regret. He glanced at her. You speak like someone who is lost. I speak like someone who refuses to lose. Again, silence stretched between them, but it felt different. Now the next week, something unexpected happened. Emma's neighbor brought Noah early one afternoon due to an emergency. Emma hurried to meet them at the entrance, apologizing repeatedly. I will handle this quickly, she told Grace. But Daniel appeared in the hallway. Let him stay for a moment. Noah stared openly at me. Daniel's wheelchair. Does it go fast? He asked. Fast enough. Daniel answered. Noah approached and handed him a folded paper. It was a drawing of a tall man standing upright next to a smiling woman and child beneath a large sun. That is you, Noah explained. You are standing because you decided to. Daniel's fingers tightened slightly. Why did you draw me standing? Because people can stand if they want to. The innocence of it struck deeply. Emma watched Daniel's face soften. Thank you, he said quietly. After Noah left with the neighbor, Daniel remained in the garden holding the drawing. Children do not understand limitations. He murmured, Maybe they understand possibility better than we do. Emma replied. That night, Daniel asked her to join him in the study. Why did your son's father leave? He asked bluntly. Emma did not flinch. He was not ready for responsibility. And you were. I did not have the luxury of being unready. Daniel leaned back thoughtfully. Do you ever resent your situation? Sometimes. But resentment does not feed a child. He studied her. Carefully, you are stronger than you. Appear, she smiled faintly. Most mothers are days. Passed with small shifts, Daniel began attending therapy sessions more consistently. Emma encouraged without pressure. Victoria's visits became less pleasant. She questioned financial documents, hinted at Emma overstepping boundaries. One afternoon, Emma discovered an envelope slipped under her staff room door. This place is not for you. Leave before you regret staying. Her stomach tightened. She showed Grace, who frowned deeply. Daniel needs to know. Grace insisted. Emma hesitated, but eventually told him. Daniel's jaw hardened. Victoria, we do not know that. Emma said gently. I do. For the first time she saw anger not at himself but protective. You are under my employment. No one threatens my staff. She felt unexpectedly safe hearing that. Later that evening, Daniel requested extra therapy practice. Help me to the parallel bars. Emma assisted carefully. He gripped the bars, arms trembling, slowly, painfully. He lifted his torso slightly. His breath grew strained, but he held for several seconds before lowering again. I felt it, he whispered. Felt what? Control. Emma's eyes shone. Then we build from there, as the sun set beyond the tall windows. Something had changed, not just in Daniel's posture, but in the air between them. He looked at her. Differently now. Not as staff, not as temporary, but as someone who saw him beyond limitation. And Emma, standing in a mansion she once found intimidating, realized this unusual job was no longer just about survival. It was about transformation. For both of them, walls begin to fall. Change did not arrive loudly at Whitmore Estate. It came quietly, in small shifts, in longer therapy sessions, in softer glances, in pauses that no longer felt cold. Emma noticed it first in the mornings. Daniel no longer avoided eye contact during his routine. He asked questions now. Simple ones at first. How did Noah sleep? What did he draw yesterday? What books did he like? The mansion no longer felt like a museum of silence. It felt lived in, but peace inside those walls did not mean safety outside. Victoria had not disappeared. She had simply grown, quieter, and that worried Emma more. One afternoon, Daniel was reviewing quarterly reports. In his office, when his expression hardened. What is it? Emma asked. He turned the tablet toward her. These transfers, they are irregular. She stepped closer. Numbers were shifted between accounts connected to subsidiary properties. The pattern was subtle but deliberate. Is it legal? She asked carefully. It is clever, he replied. Clever enough that most people would not question it. And you think, Victoria arranged this. She manages those properties. Emma felt tension rise in the room. Confrontation rarely ended, peacefully in powerful circles. That evening Victoria arrived. Unannounced, Daniel requested Emma remain. Victoria entered with composed elegance, but her smile faltered when she saw Emma standing beside Daniel's desk. We need privacy. Victoria said no. Daniel replied evenly. We need transparency. Victoria's posture stiffened. He slid printed documents across the desk. Explain these discrepancies. Victoria glanced at them briefly. Routine. Reallocations. Without my authorization. You have been distracted, Daniel. I have protected your assets. Protected, he repeated quietly. Emma sensed a shift in him. Not anger, clarity. You have been diverting profit margins into external accounts, Daniel said. Victoria's eyes flickered. You are paranoid. I am observant. Silence tightened between them. Emma remained still, saying nothing. Finally, Victoria spoke sharply. You are letting staff influence your judgment. Daniel's voice turned firm. Emma has nothing to do with this. Victoria's gaze cut toward Emma like a blade. Temporary. Employees should remember their place. Emma met her eyes calmly. I always do. Victoria laughed coldly. We will see how long you stay. She left without another word when the doors closed. Daniel exhaled slowly. I should have seen this earlier. Trust blinds even intelligent people. Emma said gently. He looked at her thoughtfully. You never ask what you gain from helping me. I already told you. Stability for my son, and beyond that, she hesitated maybe. I also want to see someone fight back. He held her gaze. I stopped. Fighting after the accident. Then, start again. That night, Daniel did not sleep. Easily. Emma noticed dark circles beneath his eyes the next morning. You should rest more. She said rest feels like surrender. She adjusted the therapy equipment in the rehabilitation room today. Try again. He positioned himself at the parallel bars. His arms trembled as he lifted. Hold steady. Emma encouraged quietly. This time he managed to straighten his back further. His weight remained mostly on his arms, but his core engaged longer than before. Sweat formed on his brow. After several seconds, he lowered himself carefully. His breathing was uneven. That is progress, she said. It feels insignificant. It is not. She stepped closer. Small victories build foundations. He looked up at her. When did you become so certain? When I realized uncertainty would destroy me. Their eyes lingered longer than usual. The space between them felt charged. That afternoon, Emma received another envelope under her door. Leave now. You are not wanted here. Her pulse quickened. She walked directly to Daniel's office. Another one, she said calmly, handing it to him. His expression darkened. This ends. What are you going to do? He leaned back. Thoughtfully. Audit every account Victoria manages. Quietly. Legally. Thoroughly. She will know it is you. Good, Emma. Studied him. You are not afraid anymore. He gave a faint smile. Perhaps I needed a reminder that I still own my life. Later that week, Daniel insisted on going outside without assistance for the first time. Since Emma had arrived, Grace watched nervously from the doorway. He maneuvered carefully across the garden path. Emma walked beside him, but did not touch the wheelchair. The sunlight reflected in the fountain water it used to. Frustrate me, Daniel said, staring ahead. Seeing the world continue while I remain still. You are not still anymore. He glanced at her. Because you refuse to treat me like something broken. You are not broken, she said softly. You are recovering. The word lingered between them. Recovering. That evening, Noah visited again. This time Daniel invited him into the study. What are you building today? Astronaut, Daniel asked. A city, Noah replied. Placing blocks across the rug, Daniel watched him thoughtfully. Why does your tallest building have no roof? He asked. Because it is still growing. Daniel smiled slowly. Emma stood in the doorway. Watching them, something warm and unfamiliar filled her chest. Hope. But hope carried risk. That night, Victoria confronted Emma privately in the hallway. You think kindness will save you here? Victoria said quietly. Emma remained composed. I think truth will. Victoria stepped closer. Daniel is vulnerable. He confuses gratitude with affection. Emma's voice remained steady. I have done nothing inappropriate, not yet. Victoria replied coldly. Emma felt anger rise but kept control. You are afraid, she said. Victoria's eyes flashed. Of what? Of losing influence. Victoria's jaw tightened. You have no idea how this world works. Maybe not, Emma answered. But I know how loyalty works. Victoria walked away. Without another word, the next morning, auditors arrived discreetly. Daniel had initiated a full financial review. Victoria's demeanor shifted from confident to defensive to Days later, the findings confirmed irregular transfers, not large enough to cause immediate alarm. Large enough to reveal intent. Daniel called Victoria into the office. Emma was not present, but she heard raised voices echo faintly through the corridor. When Victoria stormed out, her composure was shattered. "This is not over," she warned Emma as she passed. Emma did not respond. Daniel requested Emma join him afterward. He looked exhausted but resolute. "I have begun legal procedures to remove her from asset control. That is serious. So was her betrayal." He looked at Emma more softly. "Thank you for what?" "For staying," she hesitated. "I almost left after the second note." "Why did you not?" "Because running would teach my son fear." Daniel's expression shifted deeply. "You are extraordinary," he said quietly. "No, I am determined. There is a difference." She felt heat rise in her cheeks. The emotional distance between them had narrowed dangerously. That evening, Daniel attempted something new with Emma's assistance in stabilizing braces. He tried shifting partial weight onto one leg. It was risky. Grace protested gently. Daniel insisted. Emma supported him firmly. Slowly, he transferred. For a brief moment, his foot pressed against the ground with controlled force. Pain crossed his face, then relief. "I felt it," he whispered. Emma's eyes filled with tears. She quickly blinked away. "You are stronger than you think." He looked at her. Not as employer to employee, but as man to woman. "Do you ever think about your future?" "Emma, beyond survival." She swallowed. "Sometimes what do you see?" "I see Noah safe. I see myself working hard. I do not imagine beyond that. You should." "Why?" "Because you deserve more than endurance." His voice was gentle. The air felt fragile. Emma stepped back slightly, steadying herself. "We should not blur lines," she said carefully. He nodded. "You are right," but neither of them truly stepped away. Later that night, Emma sat alone in her room. Her phone buzzed with a message from Noah's teacher praising his creativity. She smiled softly. Everything she was doing was for him. But somewhere along the way, her heart had begun to involve someone else. The following morning, Daniel surprised her. "I have scheduled a public board meeting next week." Emma looked confused. "You rarely attend publicly?" "I will attend. This one in person." Her eyes widened. "That will be challenging." "Yes." "Why?" Now, he held her gaze. "Because hiding is no longer acceptable." She understood. He was reclaiming authority, and perhaps reclaiming himself. In the therapy room that afternoon, he pushed harder than ever, arms trembling, breath strained, but will unshaken. Emma remained close. When exhaustion finally forced him back into the wheelchair, he laughed softly. "I forgot what effort felt like, and it feels alive." She smiled. That night, rain fell gently over the estate. Daniel requested Emma join him in the covered terrace. They watched droplets shimmer under garden lights. "Do you regret coming here?" he asked quietly. "No. Even with the threats, even with uncertainty," she nodded. He studied her carefully. "If circumstances were different," she interrupted gently. "They are not." He gave a faint smile. "You are cautious." "I am." "Responsible?" He leaned closer slightly. "And if I told you responsibility can coexist with happiness?" Her heartbeat quickened. "Then I would say prove it." For the first time, their conversation carried open romantic tension. Neither moved away. Neither moved closer, but the boundary had shifted. The next morning brought news. Victoria had officially been removed from financial authority pending investigation. She left the estate before noon. Her departure was silent but heavy. Emma stood beside Daniel at the window as Victoria's car disappeared beyond the gates. "Are you relieved?" Emma asked. "Yes, and sad." "Why sad?" "Because I once believed she cared." Emma spoke gently. "Sometimes you mistake control for care." He nodded. "Thank you for reminding me of the difference." He turned toward her. "You have changed this house, no?" She corrected softly. "You changed yourself." "I only stood nearby." He reached forward instinctively, then paused. She did not step back. His hand rested lightly over hers. Warm, steady. No words were needed. Outside, clouds parted and sunlight returned to the garden. Inside Whitmore Estate, walls that once felt impenetrable had begun to fall. Not completely, not safely, but undeniably, and neither of them could pretend anymore that this was only employment. It had become something far more powerful, something that could either save them or break them. A choice that changed everything. The mansion felt different after Victoria. Left quieter, lighter, but also uncertain. Emma understood that removing a powerful person from a powerful position never ended a story. It simply began a new chapter. Daniel had regained control of his financial empire. The internal audit had revealed enough evidence to formally sever Victoria's authority within the company. Legal action was in progress, discreet but firm, yet victory did not look triumphant on Daniel's face. It looked reflective. 3 days after Victoria's departure, Daniel attended his first in-person board meeting in nearly 2 years. The preparation alone was intense. A tailored charcoal suit hung ready in his room. Emma helped adjust the cuffs carefully, her movements calm but aware of the significance of the day. "You are nervous," she observed gently. "I have negotiated billion-dollar contracts without blinking," he replied. "Yet this feels different, because this is personal." He nodded slightly. He had avoided public appearances since the accident. Investors respected him. But absence had created quiet doubt. Today, he would appear not as a broken executive hiding behind screens, but as a leader, claiming presence. The boardroom was located downtown in the company headquarters. Grace insisted on accompanying them, but Daniel refused additional assistance beyond Emma. When they entered the building, whispers followed. Some sympathetic, some surprised. Daniel's posture remained steady. Emma walked beside him, not pushing his chair, not guiding unless necessary. She had learned the balance between support and independence. Inside the boardroom, executives fell silent. Daniel positioned himself at the head of the table. "Thank you for attending." He began calmly. His voice carried confidence. He addressed financial corrections, governance, restructuring, and future expansion strategies. He acknowledged internal misconduct without naming Victoria directly. "Transparency will define the next chapter of this company," he said firmly. Not fear. For the first time in 2 years, investors saw not limitation but authority. When the meeting ended, applause filled the room. Not polite applause, genuine, as they exited the building. Daniel exhaled deeply. "You did that," Emma said softly. "No," he corrected. "We did." That word lingered in her chest. The following weeks, brought visible change. Daniel intensified physical therapy. He insisted on daily sessions. Longer attempts. Greater strain, pain returned frequently, but he did not retreat from it. One afternoon, with specialized braces and support equipment, he attempted to shift more weight onto his legs. Emma stood in front of him, hands hovering near his arms. Slowly, his muscles trembled violently. Sweat traced down his temple. Then, for 3 breathtaking seconds, he stood, not fully upright, not independent, but standing. His eyes widened. Emma felt tears spill freely this time. "You did it." He lowered carefully back into the chair. Breathing heavily, "I did not think I would ever feel that again." "Feel what?" she asked. Height, control, possibility. Their eyes locked. Neither pretended. Anymore, the professional boundary had long dissolved, replaced by something honest and powerful. But Emma remained cautious. That evening, she sat alone in her room, staring at a letter she had received. The eviction case on her apartment had officially closed. Landlord had leased the unit to someone else. Her old life was gone. Whitmore Estate was no longer temporary refuge. It was reality yet. Something unsettled her. She walked to the garden where Daniel sat, reviewing documents. "I need to speak with you," she said quietly. He looked up immediately. "What is it?" She inhaled slowly. "This cannot continue without clarity." His expression softened. "Clarity about us?" "Yes," he nodded. "Then let us speak honestly." She sat across from him. "You are my employer. I live under your roof. My son visits your home. If feelings grow between us, they must not be based on gratitude or dependence." He listened without interruption. "I will not allow Noah to grow up believing I traded security for affection," she continued. Daniel's gaze held steady. "Do you believe that is what this is?" "I do not know. That is why I need to be certain." He rolled closer, stopping directly in front of her. "Emma, I admired you before I cared for you. I respected you before I desired you. You challenged me before you comforted me. Nothing about this is charity." Her heartbeat quickened. "And if I had no money," he continued quietly, "if I still lived in a small apartment and fought recovery alone, would you still sit here?" She did not hesitate. "Yes." The simplicity of her answer changed everything. He reached forward, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Then, let me speak clearly. I do not want you here because you need a salary. I want you here because you are my equal." Emotion filled her eyes. "And Noah," she whispered. Daniel smiled faintly. "Noah is not an obligation. He is a gift." The sincerity in his voice erased her final fear. Weeks passed. Victoria attempted one final maneuver, a public statement accusing Daniel of mismanagement during his recovery period. The press caught wind of it. Headlines circulated. Briefly, Daniel chose not to hide. He scheduled a public interview. Emma watched from the studio. Sidelines, he spoke openly about the accident, the depression that followed, and the internal betrayal he had faced. But he did not speak with bitterness. He spoke with accountability. "I allowed myself to withdraw from leadership," he admitted, "but I am no longer withdrawing from my life." The interview shifted public perception. Dramatically, investors responded positively. Victoria's credibility weakened. Shortly afterward, legal proceedings finalized. Her removal from all corporate involvement, she faded from their lives. One golden afternoon, Noah ran through the garden laughing as Emma and Daniel watched. Daniel had progressed to assisted standing, exercises using specialized supports. Short sessions, but consistent. Noah approached him, holding another drawing. This time it showed Daniel standing taller. Holding Emma's hand, Daniel studied it carefully. "Is that how you see us?" he asked. "Yes," Noah replied confidently. Emma laughed softly. "Children have strong imaginations." "No," Daniel said quietly. "They have clear vision." That evening, after Noah returned home with Emma's neighbor for the night, Daniel asked Emma to join him in the terrace once more. The sky was painted deep blue. "You once told me you refused to let your son believe. Struggle was permanent." He began. "Yes. I refuse to let you believe love must always cost you something." Her breath caught Emma Carter. "You walked into this house for survival. You stayed for integrity. You fought for me when I had stopped fighting for myself." He reached into his jacket pocket. It was not an extravagant gesture, not a stage spectacle, just a small velvet box. "I am not asking you because I rescued you, and you are not accepting because you needed me." He opened the box. "I am asking because we choose each other." Tears slid down her cheeks. "Daniel," she whispered, "will you build a future with me? Not as employer and employee, Not as obligation and gratitude, but as partners. She stepped closer. "You are certain?" she asked softly. "I have never been more certain of anything."